Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to talk to you, and thanks to Yvette and Doug for giving me the opportunity. Maybe you're wondering why I hooked up my computer here. Unfortunately, there's a particular reason to this. While we were at the Cochrane colloquium last week, Gerd Antes was actually quite liked an animation mode. And yesterday night when I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning, due to the jet lag, I figured out how it worked, and I just have to show it to him. So I hope you like it as well. I'm going to talk to you about the OPEN project, which aims to overcome failure to publish negative findings. And let me start with some disclosures. It is not exactly about reporting quality, so I'm sorry. But it's nevertheless important, at least I think so, and I think other people do think so as well. Why am I or our group interested in this problem of non-publication of research finding? Well, I'm a systematic reviewer, so I'm affected by non-publication of research finding in my daily work. But I'm also a clinician, a pediatrician, and pediatric hematologist, oncologist, so I'm concerned about not being able to provide my patients with optimal treatment. And finally, we got co-funded or co-funding by the European Union. So those are the disclosures. Although I'm aware that probably all of you, or at least most of you, are quite familiar with these kind of studies, I just want to highlight one particular issue. It's really a big problem, non-publication of research findings. This is a nice study done by Ross et al., published in 2009 in PLOS Medicine, and looked at 677 trials registered in clinicaltrials.gov after 1999, conducted and finished by 2005. And then in 2007, they looked for publications. And the overall publication rate, if I recall that correctly, was about 46 or 48%, which is probably not surprising to you. Which might be a little surprising to some of you is that basically they didn't find a hell of a difference whether those studies were international studies or US-Canada only studies, whether they had a larger sample size or a smaller sample size, what phase they were, or what the funding situation was. So it's really a problem that goes across all different areas of clinical research. So one could argue, well, that's rather a problem for systematic reviewers because we lose precision, as we've seen earlier this morning. But no, it's highly relevant for patients. It's even potentially harmful. This is a project that was done at IQWiC and published in 2010. They looked at a reboxetine, a block seller drug, for treatment of major depression. And they conducted a systematic review, including also unpublished data that were submitted for approval. And what they found is, to me at least, quite shocking. Published data overestimated the benefit of reboxetine versus placebo by up to 115%, and reboxetine versus selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, which are other drugs for depression treatment, by up to 23%, and also underestimated harm. So that's really quite striking, I think. So it's really a relevant problem as well. It's not only a statistical or academic problem. So when I started preparing this presentation, I was kind of delighted to find on the EC side some policy initiatives that are currently undergoing. It's about access to data. It's about open access, support of open access publications, but also, I'm just wondering whether there is a pointer available here. I think we had one. Oh, thank you. But there are also initiatives going on where they discuss how to improve access to raw data, or at least data that are earlier on in the hierarchy of data production, in particular in the digital age of data processing. And that's quite good to know. The other thing is that they are trying to implement some of these issues in the new research program called Horizon 2020. And I think it'll be interesting to see how many of these initiatives make it really into that program. The other thing that was quite good, in particular for our group to see, is that in 2010 there was a call out on targeting publication bias. And the overall objectives of this call was, and that's highlighted here, to explore, identify, and overcome failure to publish negative results, and to ensure, and I think that's kind of understandably taking a funder's perspective, that finite health research resources are better used, avoiding replication. The expected impact is to avoid duplication of research efforts and allow a more effective funding of health research. I think it was, from our point of view, again, quite nice to see that they were willing to provide €500,000 for this kind of research. But considering that they're spending several billions each year, I think it's really just a drop in the ocean. But still, we were really lucky to learn in April last year that our proposal was evaluated successfully and that we were approved for funding. So we started negotiation with the EC, and I think it was in January, no, it was in August or so that we finally managed to set up a grant agreement. That is just the basics fact. It's a co-funded project by the European Commission under the 7th Framework Program. The financial volume is 499,982, and my special thanks goes to Britta and Nadine, who did a terrific job on the financial plan for this project to make it so close to the 500,000 that were allowed at maximum limit. The duration is 24 months, and the starting date is 1st of November last year. So it's really just a young project. So unfortunately, there are no data really to present to you today. Just let me quickly show you that it's really like an international project. We involve groups from Germany, obviously, Spain, UK, Croatia, WHO, Italy, and France. And if you look at the organizations that are involved or the particular people and groups, you'll see many of those people are here in the room. They are highly skilled researchers with a long history in research and publication bias and non-publication of research. So we're very glad to have such a strong consortium. We're even more proud to have a fantastic advisory board, I think, with Doug Altman, Kay Dickerson, An Van Chan, Fujian Song, and Wim Weber from the BMJ. So it's really like a highly renowned advisory board. And what are the key points of OPEN? Well, OPEN will bring together key opinion leaders from across Europe, and that's due to the funder, obviously, but we are open to input from outside Europe to address the issue of non-publication of research findings. Currently, we are conducting a series of systematic reviews to assess the current state of the literature and publication bias. Obviously, we are aware there is a lot already done outside, but our task really is to kind of update this information and provide it to the EC. There are several work packages who aim to assess and evaluate policies and procedures in place for preventing publication bias by the main parties involved in funding, conducting, and publishing clinical research, including, and those are the key stakeholder groups, we could think of funding agencies, industry, research ethics committees, research institutions, researchers, including authors and reviewers, trial registries, biomedical journals, regulatory agencies, and benefit assessment agencies. And as you can see in this cartoon here, basically there is a lot of work packages looking at all these different key stakeholder groups. This is the work package dealing with the systematic review, and there's one work package I would like to highlight that's led by Philippe Ravaud. It's about the impact of publication bias on network meta-analysis. And there is a work package on evaluation of findings and formulation of recommendations, and one on dissemination and exploitation of results. So let me continue with the key points. OPEN will hold a European workshop and develop recommendations using the findings of the different work packages. And the expected results of OPEN will be evidence-based, at least hopefully recommendations for initiating the implementation of adequate measures to control publication bias and limits its effects on clinical decision-making. So this is our work plan. I said earlier on that we started end of last year. So currently we are kind of here. So there's quite a bit time to run for the different work packages. So as I already admitted, there are unfortunately no data really to present to you yet. What are the next steps? Well, in February 2013, we are going to meet in Barcelona with all our partners and the advisory board to discuss the findings from the different work packages and implications of the different work packages. In May 2013, here in Freiburg, we are planning to hold our workshop with involvement of external key stakeholders. And the aim is really to develop recommendations aiming at better detection and prevention of non-publication of research findings. And that's also very important to us, to explore strategies for implementation of recommendations. So for those of you who are rather interested in the individual tasks that we are going to tackle in the different work packages, I'd suggest to go to the Open website. It's www.open-project.eu. And there is quite a bit of detailed information on the individual work packages, who is involved and what they are currently undertaking. And as you can see here, the work package led by Ana Marusic from Croatia is currently conducting a survey evaluating views of researchers or peer reviewers. And so if you find a time over the next couple of days, please go there. Also, they are conducting structured interviews here at the conference. So if you are a researcher or authors of research reports or reviewer and are interested, contact either any one of Anna or Mario. Please raise your hands for a second. Or go to room Künstlergarderobe during the poster session and participate in their structured interviews. So, we are currently also working on our first open newsletter, which hopefully will be ready in October, end of October, and be distributed November. So if you're interested in being up to date what's happening within Open, send us an email at open@cochrane.de. That would be great. So just to be transparent and fair, I want to take this opportunity to also point you towards a second, actually the second project that got funding under that call. It's called Uncover, and it's about evaluation and development of measures to uncover and overcome bias due to non-publication of clinical trials. It started in September 2011 as a 30-month project, so it goes until February 2014. Again, there is a website available for further information. Those are the partners involved in this project. It's the Austrian Institute of Technology in Vienna, the Danube University in Krems, and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. What are the aims? Well, Uncover aims to apply, establish, and to develop novel methods to uncover non-publication bias, to engage with stakeholders and identify strategies, barriers, and facilitating factors to overcome non-publication and its consequences, to synthesize lessons learned and recommend feasible measures to deal with publication bias. Uncover treats the issues of the publication bias with a multidisciplinary approach with quantitative, qualitative, and participatory methods. So their main activities are framing publication bias in terms of EBM and system theory, including stakeholder mapping, identification of key opinion leaders and stakeholders inside and outside the scientific community through bibliometric analysis and automated web searches, a systematic review on the effectiveness of interventions to counter publication bias, interviews with editors and other stakeholders on publication policies and practices, especially with respect to compulsory trial registration of RCTs, open source software program to estimate the potential impact of missing data or unpublished studies on the results of a given meta-analysis, and again, recommendations for the implementation. So in summary, there are two EC co-funded projects on non-publication of research findings. Obviously, we are aware of each other and we are working together and we are trying to cooperate as much as makes sense between the two projects to ensure optimal output and avoidance of duplicate work, and hopefully first results will be available in 2013. So if there are questions, I'm happy to answer these, but there are many people involved here, also in the audience, so you can approach them as well. And I guess for Uncover, Gerald Gardlaner would be the right person to talk. Thank you very much.